Never underestimate the power of
Alan!
You haven't played him in ranked too much, right? You've been practicing.
Nah, that's my
normals.
first ranked game with him.
Fair enough. You don't have ranked anxiety, do you?
No, I mean, what do you mean with ranked anxiety?
Some people are just scared to queue up in ranked.
No, not really. It's just like that's since I'm pretty new to top lane, I just don't know what most top laners did. Like they want to queue up without knowing what the enemy champions did.
Yeah,
Which
it
is
makes a
tough.
lot. So when I started playing League, I'll do this in like a more because usually, right, you paid for an hour, so I would like get to the point real quick. But since we're doing it on stream, if you've got the time, I'd be like more casual and we can do it longer that way, like at least until 3. So when I started playing League, when I started playing League, I played like 1,000 normal games before I went into ranked. And I also played every champ, which back then was only like 60 champions probably. So it was easier to know what every single champion does. It's the learning curve is a lot higher for you nowadays. Okay.
I have like 500 games already. It's insane.
Yeah, you really like the game?
Nah, it's fine with friends. Don't enjoy it as much alone though.
Fair enough. I mean, you definitely don't need to play ranked. Like ranked is just an imaginary made-up number where no one cares about. So if you enjoy it with friends, then play it with friends.
That's what I do a lot of the time.
That's good. Have you been? Did you watch me already a month ago, or when did you start?
No, like 2 weeks ago, I'd say.
Okay, so you started with the PTA Nasha Riftmaker, and then you went over to Fleet Footwork and other runes.
Yeah.
And slowly.
I watched like a random guide on YouTube. That's like on how it works. But then I saw your guide, and because the guide I watched was like Plat or something, and I saw your channel, and it was Challenger Teemo XP, so I just started following your guide because it was a lot better.
As soon as you follow my guide, 04, 06, 04.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a transitionary period for sure. I'm gonna share my screen not just on not just on the stream but for you as well. You can see what we're scrolling through. And which one would you say do you like more? Fleet or PTA?
I mean, even with Fleet, I still build Nashers because if I don't have the attack speed, I just miss like a bunch of CS.
That's honestly completely fair.
So I just I like Fleet Footwork a lot because it gives you a lot of extra healing.
Yeah, right. You don't get punished as much in lane.
Yeah.
So I actually do agree that, like, especially when you're starting out. So maybe that if we're getting into concrete advice, do you want me to write it in the Google Doc or is on Discord fine?
That's on Discord is fine. Whatever
okay, so whenever I spectate anyone, it's always the fact that CS is king. So minions are basically walking free money that you can just pick up along the way. So for a kill, you'll always need to work. It will always be way more difficult than picking up minion. That sounds obvious, but I really want to drill it home that whenever you miss a minion, like right in the chat, there's like a joke of like -1 or something. I would always imagine it in terms of the gold value. So like if you auto attack someone and you miss a melee minion because of that, you need to think that one.
Take 20 gold.
Yeah, that's -21. And then you'll be like, okay, instead of just missing the 21, right? Because you could have gotten it, it's like, would I pay 20 gold to auto attack him once? And like 90% of the time, you wouldn't, right? So unless you're trying to dive him and kill him. So basically always prioritize the CS over the harass. So that doesn't mean that you have to play passively. It's just as you get better, you'll know like when can I actually go for trades? Like when do I need to trade? When do I need to go for CS? I'll show you some common tricks that I do. Like, in case I forget it, it's some really obvious stuff, but I only realized it when I did my internship at Rogue, and some pro players mentioned it to me. But obviously, the closer you stand to a minion,
the faster the projectile reaches.
Yeah, the faster the projectile reaches. So if you really want to auto-attack minions and you're not under threat, just walk up to the minion real close. Then it's way easier to CS.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of recommend Dark Seal, but honestly, yeah, especially because of the CSing, and after it got buffed, just go Doran's Ring and then on your first buy a Dark Seal. It's honestly fine. And then I told you, like, right, where do you get information on runes, etc. First of all, it's okay if you one-trick one rune, or one rune page. Because, like, it makes a small difference, but not really a big one. And especially if you enjoy Fleet Footwork, just keep going Fleet Footwork. I just give you some general recommendations on your setup, which is, right, we are going Landries and Doran's Ring. So technically, we don't need either Presence of Mind or Mana Flow Band. You can actually play the entire game without either one. You usually go these when you go Riftmaker, because then you have mana issues.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we're basically wasting 2 minor runes. Now you can still go either Presence of Mind or Mana Flow Band. Like, you can try taking both off and seeing how you deal with mana. If you're noticing that you have mana issues, you can, right, take one back. In general, I don't like Triumph that much, but some other Teemo streamers really like it. So I would go Presence of Mind and then use like one of these. Like, Transcendence is bad mathematically, but if you really like the Shroom Fields, it's not too bad. Celerity is really good because of the synergy with Fleet Footwork. But if you want to go for damage, Absolute Focus is also completely viable.
Okay.
Also, we're going a pretty squishy build. We're not building that much HP, right? Like, this build has no HP. So if you're against a somewhat tanky team, like, honestly, Aurelia is gonna build HP. Like, you can consider going Cut Down. Else, I think Last Stand is just really good. It's just better than Coup de Grace mathematically.
Oh, I actually have no idea why that went that. Usually I do go Last Stand or Cut Down if I play against tank here.
Okay. Yeah, so like this rune page is better. Yeah.
Okay.
And like, you can even try going, just, you need to be very aware, if you ever go Triumph, you need to go Doran's Ring or you're gonna have mana issues.
Oh, okay.
In general, like, you're following my guide with the Swifties thingy. I think like this is a pretty pleasant build that works well.
Yeah, Swifties makes dodging a lot easier, which is still a problem.
Like, CSing is easy. You can have a jail or a free card. You're really fast. You've got sustain. I think this is a really beginner-friendly setup. Okay, so obviously League is a game that's fast changing, and this is just advice for right now, but like, even like next season, everything might change. I try to keep my guide updated, of course, and my matchup sheet. If you don't have the links, I can send them to you. In general, I obviously pay more attention to people who paid me for coaching. So if ever my guides become like outdated or unclear, you can always just DM me and I'll tell you like what I think has changed, is better, etc. So like runes, etc., they can all change, but yeah, you know where to look. Really quickly, okay, you also like WMAX second?
Yeah. Versus who was it? I don't know who that was against, but sometimes I do it if it's like I don't need my Q.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry. Your items, your rune page, your level order, everything's fine, and yeah, we don't need to worry too much about that. You can basically focus on actually playing the game.
Okay, that's good.
So you can obviously I've got like special recommendations against certain champions. Although I don't think it's even updated in my guide on Mobile Fire what I go against Jax. If you face a lot of Jaxes, the champion is really popular. I currently recommend going Face Rush to have an easier time running out of him and to do Q-Max. But honestly, Fleet isn't the worst. A general rule of thumb, like Dark Seal, refillable. if you want to go at every game, still fine. There are some champions that are kind of scary in the early game. So against them especially, I would recommend Thorn's Ring to pots. It's just slightly more sustain. Like, for example, I don't know if you know that, but potions give 25 more HP than refillable potions.
Yeah.
So it is like 100 more HP, which can make a difference against a Jax who all ins you. So like,
Yeah.
especially as you get experience, and some matchups seem really difficult, like for example Pantheon, then Thorn's Ring is probably preferred. And also Jax deals kind of mixed damage, but if you're ever gonna go against a Pantheon or something, Armor or MR, like if you're against an Akali, for sure, going MR in your runes is fine. If you're going against a Pantheon, Armor in the runes is fine. Basically go HP if I know that my lane is safe. But here I'd be slightly scared and I'd go like Armor and Thorn's Ring.
Okay.
But it doesn't really change the matchup too much. In general, even though, like, once again, you can just go E. You really can go E in every single matchup.
Okay.
In general, a good habit to get into is to level late. So sometimes you invade someone, and then if you can only get like one auto attack off, then blind is gonna do more. So like you want to skill blind and then skill E level 2. So it's just a good habit to go into to not pre-skill your stuff. For example, if you get invaded, doesn't happen this game, but I saw that you leveled E immediately. If you get invaded, then sometimes having the blind to run out and to save your teammate can be really valuable, and sometimes your early game is gonna get fucked.
Okay, thank you. That's pretty useful already.
Also, again, doesn't happen that often, but some people really like flipping level 1. A lot of people will invade like this and like this, which is why usually one person covers here, and then the top laner covers here. Now, Teemo is very unique in that he has his passive, and he can just stand still.
Oh.
So, Teemo has his passive, right? So if you're here, you can't, like, you don't know if someone is invading, right? And especially in Evelyn, let's say she goes to her blue buff, and then there's Jax here, and he just murders her level 1. I just unmuted. I just muted, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you could tell me.
No, I thought you did it on purpose. Okay.
Now I've got the... whatever. My stream will need... the white bar in the bottom is annoying, but fine. So, imagine Jax invades, goes here, and then murders your Evelyn. You kind of lose the game just off that. So, what do we do with Teemo? We stand over here, and then we go invisible. The very nice part about going invisible over there is that some junglers are gonna just immediately run in here. And if you are late towards going here, then they're gonna see you and they'll call the jungler and they're gonna go in on you. So you only do it if you're like not going for a P-break or something. You just go invisible here, and the nice part is if they invade like this, you usually still see them. And if they
but you just wanna spot the invade basically.
Yeah, you can basically cover both sides. If you stand here, most champions couldn't do that because they get sandwiched, but because you're invisible, you can see an invade from this side, and you can see an invade from this side.
Okay.
Also, this is kind of a high elo thing, but it might happen in lower elos, which is that the support goes sweeper, and then they sweep while they invade. And because they usually walk like this, the sweeper's range is around this. So they're not gonna spot you. So this is a really safe spot where you can cover both sides of the invade.
Okay.
And that way you are way more active L1. You don't need to be here forever. Towards like 1 minute you can then leave because usually people don't late invade. I would usually never go through this bush, by the way, because imagine Jax is here and then he just murders you.
He just kills you.
Yeah, so you always want to go with your minions. Okay, so if we're going in general, in area champ select, if possible, we usually try to make ourselves a plan of the game. Or not even of the game, because...
You want to use it?
I don't know why, but I made my mute button on Discord the Windows button. So oftentimes when I alt tab or something, I mute myself. Okay, so I make myself a game plan in general, but that's because I already think ahead, like what items am I gonna build, what rune do I go, what's my thingy order. You don't need to think about all of this, because it's better to focus on the lane and on the fundamentals, since we're going the same thing basically every game. But you should think about how you play the very early laning phase. Like the mid game and the late game are always going to be unpredictable, but you can control the early laning phase. Now, essentially two major laning phase concepts. One, where's the jungle? Two, who is pushing? So, where the jungler starts makes a big difference because, right, it means that you can get ganked. Also, the type of jungler matters. So, you're playing against a Shaco, which means that, I don't know if you've ever played against a Shaco, but Shaco is the kind of cheesy jungler. He can do multiple camps at the same time, and then he can level 2 or level 3 gank.
Yeah, he actually does that this game.
Yes, so against all of these kind of junglers, so like Talon could do the same, Rek'Sai could do the same, John 4 could do the same. Like Evelynn is probably not gonna do 3 camps into gank. What I recommend is honestly, like, if you go towards this bush toward it, first of all, the Shaco can jump over the wall and screw you over. Second of all, depending on the champions, like there's a Pantheon here and he's gonna jump on you and you take damage. Just level 1, place a ward here. You're gonna get your second ward up soon enough. And essentially, your plan is just, okay, I'm gonna push. If I get ganked, right, I've got the ward. And if I don't get ganked, then after the push, I can decide to either base or I can stay in lane. How do you decide if you... Does everything make sense so far?
Yeah.
So how do you decide? Oh, one thing that I should maybe clarify. So here you can, right, to see the ganks that come from here, but you also see the ganks that come from the river. So this is why this spot is really good. So how do you decide if you stay or base after the push? After the push means after the crash, so once the minions hit the tower.
Okay.
You decide that based on based on your current information. So let's say you warded here and Shaco then ran bot lane, right?
Yeah.
So you can infer based on the fact that you didn't get ganked in the first like 3 or 4 minutes that he's not that either he's running bot lane or he's running top lane. You don't actually know where he is yet because he could do the scams and run over here, or he could have done everything and ran over here. Essentially, if you do a really early ward, right, what that means is that you don't actually have vision of where he's gonna be at like 3 or 4 minutes, which means that if you see him bot lane, then you're like, okay, I'm gonna stay. If you don't see him, then you might need to assume that he's actually top lane and you might need to back off.
Okay.
So essentially, to make it very simple, because they can gank you really early, you put a ward so that you can deal with it. And then once that ward expires, you need to check, okay, did we see him on the map? If yes, I can keep playing. If no, then maybe I need to base. So that's in general like jungle tracking. And then like it gets slightly more complicated. For example, let's imagine both junglers are going top. then you might be like, okay, who's the stronger jungler? Okay, do you want to 2v2? And then usually if you want to 2v2, then you would push again so that you've got the bigger minion wave to fight in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It can get convoluted, and a lot of it is just in the moment decision making. However, this is just like the very basics. Oftentimes, honestly, they will most junglers right now, they mostly go mid lane and bot lane. So
Yeah.
So as long as you do a ward at all and then play more safe once you don't have vision, that's like the most simple concept. You're not gonna die to ganks that often. Okay, next. The quintessential advice that I give to base, like, lane management is somewhat simple, but it can get complicated. So I like to dumb it down a lot, which is just push. Why just push?
Okay. That seems easy. Just pushing.
Yeah, just push. Basically, every single lane, just push. Now, on other champions, that might not necessarily be true. So we might need to talk about more like wave management. But on Teemo, the thing is, okay, like it would help if you had more experience or like watch the guide on those concepts. But in general, there's something called calling dying on your timer or basing on your timer and basing on the enemy timer. What does that mean? Imagine you pushed a gigantic wave in, then you get ganked and you die, right?
Yeah.
Since it's the early game, your respawn timer is somewhat short. So by the time that you walk back into lane, the waves, the minions are gonna push back into you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good for me because I can just get them.
Because whenever you crash a wave, the minions meet here, and since they, or like even if they meet here, like this is a general concept to make sure that you know it. Like when the minions are on his side of the lane, and all things being equal, like if the minion waves are the exact same sides, it's always gonna push into you. Because I hope the arrows that I'm drawing are not too confusing.
No, nice.
Let's imagine the minions are here, right? Your minions need to walk all the way over here until they eventually arrive here. His minions also need to walk all the way down the lane, but they arrive way earlier. So when it's first is 6 versus 6, right? For a few seconds, it's like 6 versus 12. Of course, some minions are gonna die from the original minion wave. But that means that your numbers are at a huge minion disadvantage, which means, right, they are attacking more, they deal more damage, more of your minions die, which basically means whenever, that's a nice thing, the geography is so clear, whenever the minions are the same, the wave pushes back into you.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we always want to be the one pushing and crashing the wave, because whenever we die, we don't lose so much. Because we die on our timer. If we let the enemy push, right, and we die here, his entire wave crashes, we lose a lot of XP, and we get completely fucked.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yes. So, Teemo is a nice champion, and that he is completely broken. And if you play correctly, you can basically get pushed in every lane. Now, you're actually slightly unlucky in that you're playing against Jax, which is like one of the 5 matchups where you maybe can't get pushed. Or like even shouldn't get pushed. So it's like super specific, but in general, you always want to get pushed. Now, if you're gonna like look up improvement guide, there's like a difference between do you want to crash the second wave, the third wave, or the fourth wave.
Yeah.
But that's in my opinion too complicated. When I got Challenger back in season 7, I basically didn't even know these basics. I literally just pushed the wave and I was fine. So in general, my recommendation is to push as slowly as possible. Which means you wanna push the wave, but you wanna push it slowly. Unless you've got a really good reason to push quickly. That's called a slow push and a fast push. Okay. You might need to revisit the video because I'm explaining a lot of concepts.
I know what that is. Slow pushing, fast pushing.
Okay, so the only reason why you would ever fast push a wave, so like attack every minion as fast as you can, is so that you can come to an objective or invade the enemy jungle or dive the enemy as fast as possible.
Okay.
If you, for any other reason, there's basically no reason to push more quickly, because the second that you push a lane quickly, right, the wave arrives here more quickly, which means that you're more overextended earlier, right?
Yeah.
What you want to do is like slow push this wave, then slow push this wave, and then this is like the third wave. 1, 2, 3. If you just keep auto attacking every single wave, like every single minion, then your wave is gonna push super quickly, and the second wave will already arrive here, and then the minions will crash really quickly. You're gonna be completely overextended, right? Shaco can easily gank you, and you don't have any time to harass the enemy top laner, because when you crash the wave really early, right, the jungler is the enemy top laner is safe under his tower. He's way less safe over here, where you can actually harass him. This is why Alois, a streamer, calls this like the happy spot, or this is the happy spot. Because over here, you basically can't get punished. So what you want to do in basically every minion wave is attack, like my rule of thumb is that I attack one minion 2 times. Why do I do that?
So you don't miss one CS?
Yes, that's one case, and I want to like guarantee that I've got the push. So basically, if I am there early and I auto-attack the minions first, if you auto-attack the minions, the enemy is also forced to auto-attack the minions, and he can't auto-attack you if he wants to contest the wave. So I auto-attack them twice, and then I just wait. Because at this point, as soon as I auto-attack the minions twice, I've already secured the push, you know, because his minions are lower than mine. So I can just chill and play it as slowly as possible, waiting for what he does.
Okay.
So I auto-attack it twice, and then I just chill, and I last it, and then I harass him under the tower, or I base to buy an item, or I die to a gank.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially auto-attack it twice, then push as slowly as possible. So you basically did that. No, like any minion you miss, like you need practice, but like right, it's okay. That's one more reason why, like, I think Darkseal is like objectively better, right? But Thorn's Ring is like 10 times easier to play. So especially like until you've played like for a year or something, I would just play Thorn's Ring, because you're gonna miss too many minions. And if you miss minions, you miss gold, and if you miss gold, you can't play the game. In general though, like if we're just talking about last hitting, I talked with another guy, and I saw that he also auto-attacks too early. I know, like, you don't wanna miss, like, because you don't wanna miss it, you auto-attack it too early, right? Because you don't want it to die while your projectile is flying. That really sucks. So you end up auto-attacking it too early. Now with Thorn's Ring, it would have actually been in time. However, it's a general good habit to get into, which is to auto-attack not as late as possible, but like you attacked it when it had like 100 HP, I'm guessing, or like 70.
Something like that.
Yeah. Like this is when you attacked it. It had 2 HP. See, like Thorn's Ring would have killed it because of the 5 additional damage. But even then, A slow push is more effective the later you auto attack. I'll really quickly draw it on paint because it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So imagine a minion has 200 HP for the sake of the argument, and your auto attack deals 100 HP. Now you could auto attack it at 100, right, and get the last hit. But what happens if you lasted it at 50 HP?
You push slower.
Yes, because your minions had to spend time getting it to 50 HP. They had to deal 50 more damage. Which is why if you last hit really late, you push slower, and in general you can think of it that the slower you push, the bigger your wave is gonna be. Maybe another concept that's useful to know that, like, right, whenever you slow push, you build up a massive wave, and since you're always pushing, right, like there will be games where you get ganked. That's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Teemo has Ignite, right, and very high base damage, and his blind is really good in 1v2s, honestly, because it denies so much damage. So like in half of the games, you can honestly just try to go for 1v2, but the 1v2 is way more effective when you've got a ton of minions. So that's why you want to slow push. And also, you need to always check like what abilities do they have to damage me in your passive. Like, right, since I'm recommending you to always push against a lot of champions, like my favorite example is Elise. Elise wants to gank really early, right? But she actually has no ability that can damage you in a bush. So if you're playing against Elise Jax, for example, you can just run into the bush, go invisible, and they can't damage you. So you just need to remember, like during champ select, like to think, okay, can I play around the bush and go invisible there? Because then if you can, then you can basically always just push, because you can always be safe. Or like 90% of the time, you're just gonna be safe inside the bush. Most other champions, when they get ganked over here, they are fucked. But Teemo can just stand still, and he's chilling.
What if the jungler just waits? Do you go?
You also wait. Like they're wasting all their time. Also, most of the time when they get, like, right, when they gank at level 3, your minions are gonna be fighting over here. And if you stand here, you still get all of the XP. Even if the minions, you don't get the minions, you get the XP. Meanwhile, junglers, they actually get less XP from the lane. And yet they also share it with the enemy top laner. So that's why you really don't want to share XP with the jungler, because both of you get worse XP. So if both of them just wait in here together with you, it's way worse for them. Also, if you guys have permanent vision on the jungler who's not doing anything, your jungler can gank bot lane, he can gank mid lane, he can steal camps. Like, it's completely not worth.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's super good if you can do that. It's hard winning. Your entire team is gonna be really happy if you do that.
Okay.
So, right, I'm trying to give you like rule of thumbs. So you try to auto attack it at like 100 HP. You don't need to auto attack it at like 20, because then you're gonna miss like half of it. But try to just get used to auto attacking it around the value of like 50 to 70 HP. That's like not too early, not too late. It's less than your potential damage is, right? Like you nearly dealt 100 damage to the minion, but it makes you push slightly slower. And it lets you build a bigger wave, and it lets you do a bigger crash on the tower. Now, top lane tower, I don't know if you know that, but the first 5 minutes, it's actually buffed. It takes basically no damage. So the first really big wave that you're going to be pushing, it's not going to really deal damage. But later on, a really big power of a slow push, let's imagine you start a slow push here, right? You get like 15 minions going. Those things are going to melt the tower. Like, you basically always guarantee yourself a plate. Meanwhile, if you push really quickly, then you don't have enough minions to really deal damage to it. So now, like, you could be like, okay, what is your mistake after everything that I've told you?
Them fast pushing.
Yes, you don't have a reason to fast push, and you can very easily get ganked, which might happen. And the thing is, so I don't know how much the Shaco watches the map, right? But sometimes they see how quickly you push, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna gank. If he sees that you push really slowly, he's gonna be like, nah, that's probably a waste of my time. And then he's not going to gank you. So already, like, right, like, the lane has only been going on for like 10 seconds, but you've already did a massive mistake by not covering your jungler, by not warding early to prevent Shaco ganks, and by pushing the lane too quickly. Those are like, and the CS, sure, who cares, whatever. Okay. Can you think of another reason why pushing so slowly, or why pushing in general is good?
Like, so, like slow pushing or fast pushing?
Doesn't matter. Pushing in general.
Because when it crashes under the tower, they sometimes miss a lot of CS because of the tower, and
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but yes, you do get CS leads this way. Yes. Why else?
And plates.
Yeah.
Like damage on the tower. Maybe.
No. I'll hover over your champion. Maybe this helps. What am I trying to hint?
I have no idea, honestly. I can't see.
It's a very simple thing. See how you have XP?
Oh yeah.
Jax doesn't have XP yet. When you push, you get levels earlier. And the level is a lot of value. I think people say like it's like 800 gold value or something.
Okay.
So if you fight at level 2 while he's level 1, you'll always win. So basically every champion in the game. If you fight someone at level 3 while he's level 2, 95% of the time you're gonna win. So if you're pushing, you're killing the minions earlier than the enemy. If you're killing the minions earlier than the enemy, you get more XP than the enemy. If you get more XP, you get the level earlier.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's why if you let, and Jax is a really good matchup to just illustrate this. If you get level 2 first, you can bully Jax. If he gets level 2 first, he can jump onto you with this helicopter and the jump. And you can't fight back because you only have your enhanced auto attacks.
Yeah.
So you really want to be, yeah, that's why you want to be pushing.
I mean, I hard entered this lane phase anyway. I'm pretty sure I got that first.
It doesn't matter because, like, right, we already can like get valuable information off this. Now, are you positioning here on purpose? This isn't flame. Just are you like essentially?
I mean,
okay, let me rephrase the question. Is there a reason why you're standing here and not here?
Because if Shaco ganks, he ganks through the tribush, and I can like he's farther away from me.
That is true. Yes, that is a very legitimate argument. Can you think of anything else?
No. Like to stand
I'll
on
give
the
you
other,
15. I'll give you 15 seconds. Try to think about it. Why is this is actually better? Why is this better than this?
Oh, because if I poke him, I can go and bush to reset them.
Yes. As a ranged top laner, that's really important because minion deal a lot of damage. So if you don't reset the aggro in the bush, yeah, you just take a lot of damage. Like sometimes auto attacking is bad because you take too much damage. In general, you'll see that in the other coaching once the fight is uploaded. Also, you usually want to stand behind your minions while harassing, because then you can always walk back and they're gonna drop the aggro as well. If you stand like over here while you're harassing, then you're gonna take minion aggro. Over here, you're less likely to get minion aggro.
Yep.
Oh, another thing is that as a ranged top laner, right? It makes a lot of logical sense, but you don't really, like, you never realize it. If you take minion aggro, so the minions attack you, that means that they're not attacking your minions, which means that you'll basically always be pushing, right? Because your minions are attacking his minions, but they're not attacking your minions.
You still get pushed that way.
Yeah, so because Teemo usually harasses enemy champions because he's ranged, right? You will usually take minion aggro. And then combined with the fact that we just normally push ourselves, because right, we attack the minions, we'll basically always have push. Like in most games, we're gonna have push.
Yeah.
And always having push is something that's very powerful about Teemo as a champion, because like a lot of other champions would kill to be the ones to have push, and Teemo just gets it for free. So that's why a lot of matchups become a lot easier. For example, like Jax is very specific in higher elos, so I'm not gonna go in depth. Have you ever played against Rumble?
No, I've never seen a Rumble. I know who he is, but I've never seen him.
Like Rumble is a quite difficult matchup, so if you lose it, that's okay. He's also very particular to play against. But Rumble is like one of the champions where if you push, the lane is like manageable. If you get pushed in, the lane is like utter hell. So like in most lanes, you want to be pushing. Like even in counter matchups, if they pick Cassiopeia or Ryze, the like most famous counters, right? Or Syndra, you still want to be pushing.
I luckily haven't have to play against the Cassio or Ryze top yet.
Yeah, they're really difficult, but you need some practice against them. You're probably gonna lose like the first 5 times against them, even though they're probably not gonna be so good themselves. But especially if you don't know their abilities, it's very difficult to play against. Yeah. So yeah, even then, like you should try to secure the push.
Okay.
So that, like, right, once again, I'm giving you rule of thumbs. If the lane is easy and you push and you crash the wave, just keep pushing. Like, just keep pushing. Good things are generally gonna happen to you. Like, it's the most simple. It's very simple, but it's also effective. If the lane is very difficult, let's say Ryze, Cassiopeia, Rumble, it is okay to base after you crash the wave. So you literally just recall.
After like the first wave or like more waves?
After the third wave. It's important that the wave crashes under the tower. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna miss some minions, usually like 3 melee minions. But the wave is gonna push back to you. It's gonna usually push back to you over here. And you get to refill your potions. You get to buy an item, which the other enemy can't do yet, right? Because they haven't based yet. And you get to collect the wave over here. So that way, like, a lot of champions, they struggle in the early game. Meanwhile, if you do this strategy of just pushing, basing, and coming back, like the first 5 levels, you already like played very safe and survived, you know?
Yeah.
So it is not a bad thing to base. Now you need a little bit of a feeling for it. For example, especially if you're able to buy boots and celerity and take W, you can run back to lane way faster than if you don't. But should I repeat that?
No.
Okay. So yeah, but in general, that is an okay play to do if you're in a harder matchup. If you're in an easy matchup, just fucking push. Like, word, but like push until you've got like 1,000 gold or something, and then just base. Usually by the time that you're like level 5 or level 6, you want to base.
Okay. By boots. Like you rush boots, right?
It's okay to rush, yeah. I would honestly recommend buying a Darksteel and a Doran's Ring basically every game because they're such gold efficient items and they make your early game a lot easier.
Okay.
This maybe is something about League of Legends in general. Like, yes, in the end, games get won by like a giant fiesta, but the game is 10 times easier to play if you win the early game. Even if you don't win the game, it's so much easier. Teaching people how to play from behind is so much harder because you need to react to the enemy play. Meanwhile, if you're winning, you're always pushing, etc.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Yeah, it's just really easy. Like, you can just autopilot, brain off. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there was something else that I wanted to tell you, but okay, I can't think of it. But yeah, so this is like general rule why pushing is like why we do it, why it usually happens to us, and why it's so good, and what we can do with it.
Yeah.
So in general, I'd always recommend positioning pretty close to the bushes. So for example, now I would be standing here instead of over here, because you can still CS this minion easily, but you can also land an auto attack and then go in the bush.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm way too passive. I don't auto attack the enemies as much as I should.
That's okay as long as you make sure, like, if you never auto attack the enemy, but you get 10 CS per minute, like, it's not perfect, but it's fine, you know? Like, it's good. It's good enough, essentially. Like, if you play like a total pacifist, like Teemo is a very good scaling champion, it's really fine. Usually then, like, you can have, especially if you play with your friends, right? You can then have fun in the mid game and the late game when you join your team. Once you can place your shrooms, right? That's the more enjoyable part. If you want to be a total pacifist, yeah.
I like winning lane. I am too passive, but I don't want to be passive.
Okay.
Basically.
So how you can be more aggressive is always position towards the bushes. Another reason why we push is so that we have bush control. So what a lot of, like, again, this is, I think, more like a thing that higher elo top laners do. But let's imagine you're playing against a Garen, right? You've played against him.
Yeah, definitely.
If there's a Garen over here, you can't walk into him. Instead, Garen, because, right, he's just gonna fuck you up in melee range. Which means that he can walk up to the minion and then run back to the bush. But you don't want to ward this bush, because then you can get ganked by the jungler. So he's really safe if he gets bush control and he gets to push you in and just sit in the bushes. So by pushing, another like unintentional benefit is that they have to stay in the lane while you can reset aggro, you can go invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's just a lot of like confounding reasons, or is it confounding or compending? Additional reasons that just whenever you push, everything is better. Okay, here you can sometimes set up minions, so make it easier. I mean, so if we make like a CSing guide, right? Auto attacking this minion twice is fine. Just wait until it has like 70% HP.
We get the CS.
And then, right, if you auto attack this minion next, right? If you auto attack this minion next, you're gonna have the issue where both minions are gonna have around the same HP because your minions are focusing this one. As a rule of thumb, always start auto attacking the minions with the next lowest HP. So after you kill this one, you wanna focus this minion, because else you might have the issue where you can't choose between both minions.
Yeah.
Which actually happens in the game. So it's very simple, just you don't need to like think too much about it. It's just attack the minion with the lower yeah. So like here I see that there's gonna be a situation where the minions are splitting their focus and they're all really low, which you start running back and forth. I probably would have auto attacked this minion and then this minion and then this minion again and then that minion. So it's mostly just practice, but it's honestly fine. The way you played it, it's mostly just, right? It's like tiny stuff, but right? Like here, it's awkward to drop minion aggro, right? If you stand over here, this is in general a prime spot. It's just a very tiny step and then you can walk back already.
Yeah.
And then, right, you auto attacked him here, you did get his bomb plating, which is nice, and getting a little bit of harass onto him is good as well because he plans on all-inning you. But in general, you just paid like 15 gold to do that. Then the question becomes like, is it worth it? In this case, it might legitimately be worth it, but if you CS better, so like prepare the minions better, you could have gotten both the auto attack onto him and the minions. But in this case, like paying 14 gold to get all of this is worth it, in my opinion. Just, it's something that you need to actively think about.
I missed that one.
No, like, in general, like, it's one of my favorite concepts. It's called, like, don't be afraid of shadows. Which essentially means, of course, this will come with experience, okay? But if you know what the enemy champion can do, right?
Yeah.
The Jax hasn't jumped on you yet, which means that he just doesn't have his jump. That means that he must for sure have his Counter-Strike, which means that his effective range is just this. Like, I don't know. That's large. It's something in the middle. Like, this is his effective range. Which means that if he walks up, you don't need to be scared. He actually just literally cannot deal damage to you because he doesn't actually have threat. So I saw sometimes he would walk up to you and you would walk back. That's how you like play less passively, knowing that he doesn't have the range. He literally has 0 damage. So by being aware of what abilities he has, I honestly like that you went for the minion there instead of going on him. Just in case you don't know, his Counter-Strike deals more damage if you attack him.
Oh, okay.
So in general, it's really good that you didn't attack him. And then like this is just experience trading pattern, but you want to blind him before he jumps onto you. So like a lot of the times, if you let them use their abilities, they're just gonna use their abilities and then okay, so what was I saying? Okay, yeah. So if you let them use their abilities and then you blind them, essentially after the blind they can just back off. But if you use their blind while they use their abilities, now this is or before they use their abilities, that applies to a bunch of champions, then they can't just back off afterwards. You save a lot of HP this way. So like this aggressive positioning, super nice. Your first instinct should always be to go back into the bush, but it's okay. Like right, like you should still be positioned over here.
Okay.
And then you going for that minion, like it isn't that good because he's very close to you, but it's fine. And then here, even if you get hit by the E, like once he starts channeling that thing, like if the Jax is a giga pro, he's gonna use the fact that you're standing still while you blind him to proc his E and then jump onto you. But like basically every single Jax is gonna press E and then jump on your face.
Yeah.
So you just want to blind him before he jumps because now he gets an auto attack off. Yeah. And see, this gank we would have seen if we just warded early.
Yeah.
So like this again, like you don't know every single jungler and like how they clear. But in general, if a champion is stronger level 1, just do an early ward.
Okay.
And Shaco's actually another champion that literally cannot damage you in the bush. So in here, I'd be like early ward. And then after I push this in, right, I can still just go in the bush and just chill. Yeah, because now you get ganked and that's just based off the ward. And now that is the one problem with pushing. Which is if you get ganked and then you get frozen on. You can't get to the wave. That's actually why, like, right? Like, Jax is one of the very few champions in the entire game where I actually let him push me in. Because he has a lot of stats and this jump is very difficult to play against. Honestly, I can't think of a single other matchup where I let someone push in. Like, I had to, like, act. I realized that I wasn't winning against Jax, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Then I was like, I should let them push me in. Because, like, he just had, his abilities deal too much damage, he has too much HP, he can just jump on your face. So like it's a bit unlucky that we do this because this is like the one matchup where you probably shouldn't be pushing. But even then, right? If you position towards the bushes, you have the ward here. You could have just blinded him and went invisible. And you just chill. You just sit there and you laugh in their faces.
Yeah, I die here.
Yeah. So here, I'm pretty sure you could have lived. Your first instinct, and so in general, I understand the ward, obviously. You want to know where he is. In general, with wards like this, if you know that someone could be there, always be very careful if you actually ward. Because, like, right? Okay, you didn't have his Q cooldown. Like, while you walk here, he could have jumped onto you and already been here. So, like, you're putting yourself in danger, right? Just because you know that he's there doesn't mean that he's not gonna beat your ass up. But okay, like, you're scared, right? Your wave is pushing, but you don't know if you can step up. It's okay to ward here. I would have once again played towards the bush. However, it's... Okay, this is like... Okay, so... This maybe gets too specific, but... Or like too in-depth, hard to replicate. So because the minions are over here, Shaco can't jump over here and walk in here in one single stealth location. So he would need to show before... He would need to walk over here, and then jump, and then gank you in the bush, right? So I would position once again towards the bushes. And essentially, the second that Jax jumps onto me, I blind him and I stand still because Shaco's probably coming to gank me.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, I know I can do it because, like, let's say the minions are actually here. There's a chance that Shaco can actually walk a little bit out of fog, jump, and then get on top of me before I have a chance to stealth. But yeah, that's kind of too specific. And in general, like, the goal of the coaching is not for you to, like, how the fuck do I play this, right? Like, this is a complete shit situation.
Yeah, level 3 again.
The original mistake, like, essentially you can forget what I just said, honestly, because that's too specific. The original mistake is not warding.
Yeah, I should just ward level 1 if
Yes.
I play against a strong jungler.
And if you know that they're coming, then you go into the river. Yeah. Not the river, the bush. Okay. So, like, it's actually really simple. Like, at this point, you're kind of fucked. Your entire lane is kind of over. Because of this gank, and you have the pushing wave. But, like, it was preventable, and we could have taken steps. In general, you don't want to do an auto queue if you can... Like, the damage on him is completely irrelevant. Meanwhile, because you auto-attacked, you stood still for a long amount of time. So if you blind him, there's a good chance that Checo actually can't reach you and you survive. So that's what I meant with you can live. But, like, yeah, it's fine. So, once again, it's... Like, I promise you the rule of always push works. And it would have worked here with the early ward and you knowing how to play around bush. But this is like a very specific game where you have a super weak early game jungler, they have a super strong early game jungler, and basically the only matchup in the game where I don't like pushing early. So, like, this is like the one game where maybe you should have let him push in and just chilled. But again, like, that's just bad luck.
I mean, there's 3 more deaths coming.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, from this state already, he's too far in XP, like, the game's already kind of lost. One thing about... So the game's not already lost. It's just your laning phase is going to be extremely difficult. In general, okay, maybe my chat can help me out here. So I don't buy control words. I think control words are a waste of money. Especially because Teemo has shrooms. Control words have their use. They can be useful, but usually people place a control word, it gets cleared after like 5 seconds and you lose 100 gold. And 100 gold is a lot, right? Like, you are essentially using the cannon minion gold, right, to buy the control word. Just because you afford it doesn't mean that it's good. Now, especially control wards in this bush and in this bush, they usually get cleared really easily. Your goal when buying a control ward is to buy it once and then hopefully never
Never lose it.
never lose it for the entire game. So you want to use it in bushes where people expect it less. For example, if you put it here as either laner, at the very least you gain permanent vision on Crux. So if someone is invading, or if the jungler is clearing his wave, you can do it here. Or when you're coming from red side, this control ward spots a lot of vision over the duration of the entire game, but it usually doesn't get cleared. Not as likely. As a mid laner, putting a control ward here is good. On blue side, so that's actually, like, once again, kind of funny exception. I usually put a pink ward here and leave it there for the rest of the game. Now in this specific game, because they've got a Shaco and they place a box here, you would have put your pink ward here, following my advice, and it would have cleared your pink ward because it spots the trap.
Yeah.
So in this specific case, it's once again not applicable.
It's just a terrible game, basically.
I mean, it's a very good game because, like, you can learn so much from that. Like, you learn why the level 1 ward is so important. You learn why playing towards your bushes is so important.
Okay.
I hope you learned that.
Yeah. Very clear after that.
So like, this is a perfect, like, showcase on what goes wrong if you don't do that. So like most games, if you buy pink ward, like, once again, I would just say don't buy one. I would just place it here, because half the times you place it here, it gets cleared immediately and you lose. Your trinkets are usually enough for the early game, and later on you can use shrooms to cover you.
Yeah.
So if one of your friends tells you why aren't you buying any pinks, just tell them that the challenger told you.
Okay.
Another kind of underrated reason why we want to push is that if we die at level 3, like, this isn't a joke, we have move quick, which means that if we die, we run back to lane faster. You actually lose so much because you are so slow walking back to lane. Also, I mean, nah, you're 270. Kind of unlucky. If we CS better, you could have at least bought boots. That's why, remember when I said we traded one auto attack on Jax for 14 gold? Well, every CS matters. You couldn't buy boots because you didn't CS it. Like, never underestimate the power of the Scout's Code and of CS. I felt very cringe saying that.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. So now we are once again just in a shit spot. Because, right?
He just jumps on me with level 3.
Yeah, we're at a level disadvantage. However, in general, so he's gonna get level 4, which is complete disaster. Your thought process, especially when you're behind, should be, okay, I need to get my next level as fast as possible. Which, here you should know that you get it in a level. You should also know that when you have such a big minion wave, he can't really fight in it.
It takes too much damage.
Yes. So your entire goal, the blind is fine, and then just as soon as he runs out, your goal is to kill this minion as fast as possible. Because getting your levels as fast as possible is really, really valuable. So like, you're not confident here, you should be attacking the minion immediately.
Okay.
Because, like, yes, it's gonna die eventually, but he's gonna be like level 4 to level 2, which is just way too fast to be behind. So it's not a big thing, but it's for sure a thing. Once you learn the cooldowns, you could know that he couldn't really jump onto you because his E was on cooldown. So the rule of always pushing is honestly kind of fine here still, because he doesn't have enough mana to fuck you up. Let's say instead of staying, okay, let's just say magically Jax comes back to lane here and he's full HP, right?
Yeah.
Just like another game, another situation where you're in this spot and he has full HP. Like he managed to find a time to base and TP with the Sheen. Let's say that. You are already so far behind that you can't trade with him anymore. And like, you should always be pushing if you are stronger than the enemy in the early game, which you usually are on Teemo because you've got Ignite. But in this case, if you're already behind and you know that the wave is going to push back to you, because once again, if the wave is closer to the tower, it's going to push back to you, just let it push back to you. Like, it's actually very frustrating for top laners when they have a lead and then the enemy top laner just doesn't engage with them. So essentially, once again, imagine he's full HP with a Sheen. If you try to push and contest the wave, he's just gonna Goomba stomp your ass and then freeze the wave again, and you're gonna lose the game. This is enough of a minion difference that the wave will eventually push back, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. In that scenario, you wouldn't be pushing. So the rule of thumb is just, if you can't beat him, just ignore him. But in this case, he doesn't have mana and he's low, so this is actually fine. Okay, so another important concept. What would you do? What would you do if Jack's based now? And
Now?
yeah, if he took this minion, went over here and based, would you push?
I guess so, to make it crash and miss MC.
Yes, in the ideal case scenario, you would want to do that. The problem
But I can't do it
is,
fast enough yet.
yes, you're not fast enough. That's once again experience, but you need to know how quickly you push. And especially cannon minions are very difficult to push in because it's so tanky. So
Yeah.
what would happen, and what's probably going to happen, is you're gonna try to push this in, but you're not gonna be fast enough, and then he's gonna TP back and fuck you up. At this point, probably, like, right, if he decided to base you, since he's staying with low HP, you can also stay. You should just let it push into you. So you just do nothing, and in the meantime, while he bases and TPs back, the minions are gonna fight each other and he's gonna lose XP. Which you're actually kinda doing. You're kinda doing something in the middle where you're not quite holding, not quite freezing, but honestly, yeah, you're like intuitively doing the right thing. Which is, yeah, you let him push. I think you missed the cannon, but that's fine.
Oh yeah, I did. That was,
Yeah.
I was
Like,
not happy about that.
a lot of people, they auto attack too early instead of too late. So yeah, try to get, like, again, CSing is a habit, but just try to do it slightly later than you would think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. My CS was fucking terrible this laning phase. I was like not playing well.
I see, like, that's like, in my opinion, that's a defense mechanism where we, like, right, like, you don't learn anything from saying that it's okay, I was not playing well, or like, my CSing was bad. What we need to get away from this game is that, like, we should be standing closer to minions if we are not in danger to CS them. We should be standing closer towards bushes while we're CSing so that we can drop minion aggro. We should be warding, like, right? Like, we shouldn't be attributing it to bad gameplay, but towards, like, mistakes that we can fix so that in the future you don't do them.
Okay. Yeah,
So, like, the thing is, you're trying to take responsibility by saying I played bad, but instead by saying that, you're basically taking responsibility away from you. It's like you're just saying that like, it was bad, okay, it's not gonna be bad in the future. Yeah. I mean, I can talk about trading patterns in general. Like, you're kinda confused, feels like. You would have gotten like 4 more minions if you had Dorn's Ring.
yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
So, like, I do recommend Dorn's Ring. Like, you're walking up to him and then not auto-attacking him. Either you walk up and you auto, or you stand just all the way back. It's completely okay. Like, once again, there's no such thing as a passive or aggressive play. There's just only correct or bad. But in general, like, since the wave is pushing into you, you could really just chill. Like, instead of try like, you basically, with your movement, are saying, like, are you gonna jump onto me? Are you gonna jump onto me? And then he ends up jumping onto you and fucks you up. So, and once again, during his E, blind him. Basically always ends up being good.
His E is the helicopter, right?
Yes. Yeah, I like the confidence of the auto attack here. They're knowing that nothing is up. But yeah, in your mind, you should always be aware that this wave is gonna crash no matter what. Like, in your tower. You can't stop it. So, and like, right, it feels like you aren't aware of it. Because if you were aware that this minion is gonna crash either way, with crash, I mean, the wave is gonna be here in 5 seconds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the question is, why do we need to CS the minions over here when we could be CSing them over here? I want you to start thinking of this as your happy spot. Once again, that's what Eloise, the best Rune in EU, calls it. It's like, it is your happy spot. Like, when you're getting pushed in, you always want to be CSing over here and not over here.
Because they're just a lot safer. They're there.
Exactly. Like, Jax can't jump onto you when you're over here.
Yeah, I see.
So, again, I'm not saying this. I feel like by doing a disclaimer now, I'm making it worse. But like, I am talking about some pretty complicated stuff that is very helpful, though. So there will be a recording, right? I'd recommend you to rewatch it first of all, and then if you don't understand like what I meant or something, or like you don't fully grasp a concept, just tell me and I'll send you a link or re-explain it in Discord or something.
Okay.
Because like it takes like a lot of time to actually internalize all these messages. And maybe like the next few coaching sessions you're gonna be overwhelmed with like the amount of stuff that you need to think about. But that's kind of why you want to be playing the same like, right? Like, this game all by itself is already in 5 minutes so complicated. There's so much to learn. Which is why like you want to be playing the same champion with the same skill order, the same build, the same runes, the same summoner spells, so that you don't need to think about all of that as well.
Yeah, you can just switch your brain off for that.
Yeah. See like how much more pleasant CSing is over here?
Yeah.
So it's not passive if you let it push into you. You're just not letting him beat you up, essentially. It's the smart play. Which is why like sometimes I get called like a passive player. Like, other people are more aggressive. And I'm like, no, I'm not playing passive. I'm doing the correct play. I'm not letting him kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like CSing, it's something that you're gonna learn over time. And once again, like, you would have gotten at least 6 more minions if you had Thorn's Ring. So like, you would have had equal CS, and then it would be way less cringe. Okay, at this point, it really hurts. But if you think about it, you're never gonna be able to push this wave in without the jungler. Because like, you have no idea. Exactly. So sometimes the only time when it's worth to die for a push is, imagine he's freezing and you've got a really big wave. So let me draw. There's a really big wave here.
Yeah.
And there's a Jax here who has like 70% HP. And he is holding this wave over here and saying like, I'm gonna jump on your face. That's an arrow, not a trident.
Okay.
I'm gonna jump on your face the second that you come to the minion wave. He kinda did a similar thing level 4, right? It's always okay to run in, essentially say, okay, fuck you, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna get you to 20% HP. And you cannot freeze the wave because my minions are gonna deal too much damage. And then he has to like back off, TP back, and again, it's always very important that the wave fully crashes at the tower, so that then whenever the wave is pushing back into you, you know for like 1 minute that you are safe.
Yeah.
So here, like, you just need to be realistic. He's gonna get 6 before you. You don't have flash. You don't even know where. Okay, you know where Shaco is and his HP, but imagine you didn't. But even without Shaco, Evelyn is not coming towards you. She's not level 6 yet. No one is gonna come to help you here. It really sucks to just base here, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's something about being realistic. It's like, do you play chess?
Yeah. I mean, not that much, but I know it.
So there's a saying in the YouTube chess community, whatever, that you shouldn't be playing hope chess, which is essentially you do a move,
hoping the opponent doesn't see it.
Yeah, and this is like hope League of Legends, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you can never push this in. You just hope that he allows you to push it in, which in lower elos might work more often than you would think if you just seem confident. But in this case, like, it's very clear that you can never do it. So then, like, right, you're about to die because you're just hoping that maybe I can push this in. But
he jumps on me, stuns me, and kills me.
Yes, you just have to base. There's no other, like, right? Like, you're once again like hoping, like, maybe I can do something. Like, it's bad, but like maybe.
Yeah.
It's basically like you're putting your queen in front, like, I don't know, in front of a knight, and you're just hoping maybe the knight doesn't take it. Then it's mate in 1, haha. But it's like that's not the right play. You shouldn't be doing that.
I do this 2 more times.
I mean, like, the lane is difficult at this point, but like, yeah, it is a tough pill to swallow, because like, if he doesn't push the wave, then your wave is gonna keep pushing and pushing and pushing, right? Because your minions were closer. Your minions were closer. Your wave pushes. And then, like, you lose a lot of minions, but like, you need to base. Just like, remember when I told you at like level 3 sometimes, like, right, you push the wave in, and then you don't know where the enemy jungler is. You know that your jungler is bot lane. Sometimes you just need to swallow the pill, base, and buy your Dorn's ring on your first base at level 3. Like, sometimes you just need to do it because you don't know where the jungler is. Like, it sucks, but that's how you avoid dying, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I never base without getting either Swifties or, like, if I'm really low, or just kill him.
So that's about, I mean, that's kind of like just planning like 1 minute forward. Which it is difficult because like there's so much to think about. That's why oftentimes when I say about the game plan, right, like, you think about it is it called in forward? You think about it beforehand, like in the champ select while you go to the lane, you're like, do I want to base at level 3? And like, don't worry, like, most of the times I don't think about like what am I gonna do at level 5 or level 7, because usually there's so much chaos.
Waves are
but you're just like, do I do the space or do I not do the space? That's basically the only thing that I consider during, or like, that's one of the things that I consider as I approach the game. Okay, the Jackson went AFK for a bit. It's very good.
Yeah, I was like really, that was really nice. Free CS for me.
So, one general concept that's, once again, like, wave manipulation, etc., is kind of complicated. Is it okay if we only do like the first 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
There's a concept called, like, right, once again, I told you to, even if there's no enemy top laner, right, I tell you to slow push. Like, here you don't actually have a reason to fast push, because you're probably not gonna push in the wave because before this wave arrives. So the faster you push this wave, the more likely you're stuck over here, right? You would rather be CSing over here. So just last hits as late as possible when the minions get low, and don't do anything. It might seem like you're not doing anything because, like, right, you're just standing still, auto-attacking, standing still, auto-attacking. but doing more auto attacks on the minions is not really gonna, like, it's not to your benefit. What you want to do is slow push as long as you can, and then eventually on like the last wave, like we imagine we slow push this wave. We are kind of doing it. Like, this isn't a true hard push. It is pretty fast, but like if we hard push, the minions would already be over here, and then they would get stuck. So like you're not playing it poorly. Now we might be like, okay, right? We don't know that Jax is AFK, right? We know that Jax is stronger. We know that Shaco could be maybe top lane. So we want to push this wave in as quickly as possible so that they push back to us. Does it make sense?
Yeah. But I mean, wave management, like a lot of wave management, I just don't know yet. Like I know what freezing is. I have no idea how to do it though.
Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Okay.
Freezing is something that's good in like 1 in 10 games, and even then, oftentimes it ends up being bad.
Oh, okay.
So like, freezing, like maybe on other champions, freezing is good, but on Teemo, if you end up in a situation where you freeze, usually it's a mistake in some way. That's why I mean, like, just push. However, usually it's slow push unless you have a reason to fast push. And here you have a reason, because maybe Jax is gonna be here and Shaco, and they want to jump onto you. So we don't need to. I mean, slow push, fast push aren't such complicated topics, words, but essentially, in other words, it's like you wanna just push this as fast as fucking possible because you don't want to die. And if you push this in, then you can run away. If you don't push this in, then fuck, you need to stay in the lane. So throwing the shroom here is actually correct. One shroom and one auto attack kills the ranged minions.
Yep.
And then at level 11, a shroom kills the ranged minions.
Yep, I am aware of that.
Okay. In general, when you want to fast push, kill the ranged minions first and then the melee minions. It's just...
Why is that? Do the ranged minions do more damage?
Yeah, they do. See how the ranged minions deal 30 damage and the melee minions deal 12?
Yeah, I see.
So in this case, he's AFK and it's actually fine to stay here. Yeah. So here, once again, I'd be like, I'm still weaker than the Jax, probably. I would, instead of attacking the tower, I would be killing this wave as fast as possible. First of all, to get level 7. And second of all, a lot of the time, when you kill the minions, your minions can kill the tower. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So, right? Like, your minions don't need to focus their enemy minions. So you just kill the minions so that your minions kill the tower. That way you get the entire wave, you get the XP, and you still don't like lose potential damage on the tower through platings. So my first instinct here is to throw shroom. In general, if you want to hit the whole wave, I recommend hitting like the back of the melee minion with a shroom. So like over here.
Yeah.
And then auto attack each melee minions once. Because this way, even though he's level 6, like right, by not contesting the minions, he's gonna get level 7 now. While you could also be level 7, you know? And as I mentioned, like right, why do we crash the wave? So that we can always count on the fact that we can always let it push back onto us whenever you want. So if we push this wave as fast as possible, that means that like right, we collect one more wave and we have one more wave that... Okay, wait, I need to phrase that correctly so as not to be confusing. If we kill this wave is gonna crash under his tower. Which means that we for sure get these minions, and the next minion wave is gonna push back to us.
Okay.
So we basically secure the bag, and then it's still gonna push back to us. That's, again, like... Again... The main concepts that I say, they all make sense, but like, if we all just pull it back into one rule... Like, there's a lot of reasons why just push works. Like, in its essence, it's just you're pushing the minions. Just push. If you just push, usually stuff's gonna go good for you.
Yep.
Just you need to learn a little bit of jungle tracking and like when to ward, but in general, just pushing is good. And you usually slow push into fast push because you want to crash the wave.
And when would you fast push?
I always fast push when I want to accomplish something with the time that I gain from that. So
like a plate or something.
Exactly. So if I want to crash the wave earlier at the tower, if I want to invade the jungler, if I want to go to Herald,
Yeah.
or in this case, if I know that I'm weaker than my enemy, which honestly there's not that many in the early game, I want to fast push it so that I can get the fuck away.
Yes.
Like I slow push this because the Jax isn't in the lane, and then I fast push so that I can just say, okay, I killed all the minions, I don't have anything to do. That's why if you watch other guides, they call it tempo. It's just time, right? I killed the minions, I don't have an obligation in the lane right now. Which means that I can base, I can buy items, I can do something else.
Yeah.
That's why your first instinct might be that pushing always leads you to overextend and puts you in danger. But pushing also allows you to kill minion waves faster and then allows you to not overextend, because if you kill the minion wave really quickly, you can just fuck off.
Yeah. That's logical.
Red team double kill.
Here, it's kind of dangerous what you're doing, because like, okay, I can actually phrase this in a very simple way. Jax is stronger than us.
I die. Yeah.
It actually, so it's unfortunate that you die here, but I actually am more upset about you shooing the wave. If you kill the wave, it's called thinning out the wave, while the enemy is stronger, what they can do is they can hold your minions and start a freeze.
Yep.
If you just, the easier way to think about it is if you don't touch these minions at all, it's always gonna push back to you. If you start attacking the minions, that means that you have the objective of crashing the wave again. But how are you planning on crashing the wave? Like, your end intention is always to be to crash the wave if you push. But you can't crash the wave if you got a giant ass Jax in the way.
Yeah.
So if you can't fight the Jax, you can't crash the wave, which means you don't push. You had like honestly, like close to 800 gold. That's enough to buy like a cloth armor and an amp tome. You could just base. You could just be like, okay, I'm gonna miss some XP, I'm gonna miss some minions, but eventually these minion waves are gonna arrive over here and I'm gonna farm them here. Because you can't fight the Jax anymore, you're too far behind.
Yeah.
Even though he went AFK, like you should be way more behind, but
Yeah,
went AFK.
okay.
So
He
like,
runs me down here.
then the key message that you need to like internalize is that if I'm pushing, I want it to crash, but I can only crash it if I'm stronger. So if you're not stronger, and if you can, let it push back into you, because then you can just farm it, get some XP, and then play the game out on your push again.
Yeah.
Especially like,
And if I was winning, like I could just keep pushing and keep pushing.
yes, I mentioned it, like if you're winning, just keep pushing, perma push. And if you're perma pushing, you've got time to like set up. Don't put shrooms in this general area because minions are gonna walk into it and you're gonna fuck up your wave management. But like this general area and this general area, you can just set up shrooms, right? You're always pushing, which means that if they ever engage onto you, you can just walk to your shrooms, and they usually lose the fight while you have ignite, and you just continue pushing. In general, I just drew this zone. This actually isn't correct. Over here, the tower would spot the shroom, You can imagine like an imaginary line like this, based
With
on the arrow.
the thing on the ground, yeah.
Yeah, with the arrow, and that way you know the tower range on the shrooms. It's actually not. It's more like. Let me draw an accurate tower range.
Okay.
So right, you follow the arrow, and then it's like this. Means that like you can't throw a shroom here, and it doesn't get shown, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're winning, like that's what I mean. Like when you're playing from ahead, the game is so easy. You can't just always push. Honestly, nice try. You would have died if you ignited them.
Really?
Yes.
Does it do that much damage?
Yeah.
I ignite way too late most of the time.
Yeah, igniting early is often good because it reduces healing reduction. So, he might have some healing spells or stuff that gives him HP, like potions, and ignite also reduces that. So, like ignite deals more damage if you do it early.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see.
Also, like let's say ignite does 200 damage, and you ignite him at like 100 HP. That means that you're missing effectively 100 damage from ignite. Meanwhile, if you ignite him early in the fight, you basically get the guaranteed 200 damage out of it.
So even if you lose the fight, it's just lower in laning phase.
I mean, you usually ignite if you think that you're gonna win the fight, but if you are in a fight, then you should ignite early.
Okay.
But if you ignite early, you should be looking for a kill, because a lot of champions heal more HP if they're lower HP. You can see on Dawn Shield, restoration increases when you're low health.
Yeah.
And some champions take a rune called Second Wind, which heals you more when you're low HP. So if you ignite early, you want to make sure to kill them, else they get to like 200 HP and then they heal everything back up with their Dawn Shield.
Yep.
So it might sound complicated once again, but it's pretty simple. If you have a fight that goes to the death, ignite early. Yeah. If you have a fight that's just spicy, only ignite if you think you're gonna kill him. If you have any questions, I can answer them now.
No, I think you made stuff pretty clear, I think. And if I don't understand, I just watch it back.
Yeah, it was quite a lot. I went mostly over wave management because basically all of laning phase is wave management. Yeah. It's knowing when to push and when not to push, because when you do that correctly, you win most lanes. It's just getting that knowledge of when am I allowed to push, when am I not allowed to push is slightly complicated. But it's all very logical, so you can like you don't need to like brute force it. There's just general rule of thumbs, and then you can explain your decision making with logic. I would give you some general advice, which is, let me give you some general advice before I leave you.
Okay.
Between 6 minutes
and fruit spawns.
Yes. You usually want to be pushing to grab the fruit.
Is it like, but is it random between those times, or is it always
yes,
the
it's
same
random,
one?
And it could spawn here or it could spawn here. It's way better for you if it spawns up here.
Yeah.
Also at 8 minutes Herald spawns. So towards 8 minutes, if your jungler is batting up.
Yeah, that was so silly because we ganked the Jax like later on, got the shutdown. Herald was there and he just didn't go for it. I was like, I pinged him and he just didn't want to come.
You can solo Heralds. Maybe you should go in a practice game and try it out.
Okay.
So like, even if your team is stupid, you can start it and solo it, and usually your team is gonna come back and be like, ah, fuck it, help him.
Yeah.
And yeah. Your game plan in most games is to kill the tier 2. The tier 2 tower. It gives a lot of gold.
Like 550.
Yeah. Then, if you can, you want to go to the other lane, kill the tier 2. You shroom the enemy jungle.
Yep.
And then by that time, you're usually like level 14 or more. And then you just set up objectives. You just roam all around the dragon, all around the baron, and you just fiesta team fight. Usually that's how you win.
Okay. Thank you.
Never underestimate the power of the Scout's code. 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 2, 3, Scouts code. Code.